Hi and welcome back. In the previous video, we tried extracting the URL for the next page. In this video, we will try compensating that URL inside our spider, and we will try to check that whether for the particular category we are getting the next pages or not. And if we are getting the next page, we will see that how we can start sending requests to those pages as well. So over here, if we just go for the IDE again, and let's just copy this thing and let's just paste this here, and for ease let's just take this and let's just assign it to a variable here like next page CSS, and then assign put this variable over here next page CSS, and we can assign it to next page URL as well. And then what we can do, we can just simply check that whether we are getting the next page URL or not. And if we are getting the next page URL, we will just simply start sending request, or else we will just simply halt it. So here, or if we go for the codes, you can notice that this next button will actually take us to page 2. Then this next button will eventually wipes out. The next button will not be available if we are on page 2. And this check over here, this if statement which we will write, will actually look for that button, that if this button is available there, it will consider it as a next page. It will consider that there is a next page against that category, and it will start sending requests to the next pages as well. Otherwise it will just simply halt it. So here we can go for if next page URL, which means it will just check that if the next page URL is available. What it will do, we have the first thing, we have to use the yield, and then we can use the request, because over here you can see we are getting the complete URL, so we can just go for request. And here let's just pass the next page URL, and here for the callback. So for the callback, we can again pass this parse product function, self.parse product function. Now the reason why we are using the same parse product function is the same. The reason we the way we parse the course.toScrap, that after going on the next page we again refer to the same callback, because for the next page the structure of the website was same, and we can easily extract the codes from the next page using the same callback. So here this function is actually, this callback is actually checking for the products available on that product, on that category page, and then sending request after extracting the URL of that of those products. It is sending request to that relevant products. Then it is checking for the next page button, that if the next page button is available, and if the next page is available, it is actually sending request to the next page, providing its own callback. So what it will do, that as soon as it will get the response from the server, it will start considering it, and it will start parsing it. It will start extracting the products for the second page, and it will just start sending the request. So this cycle will goes on and on until no next page is available here. So it's exactly the same like we do the pagination in the previous course.toScrap website, and almost in 90% of the cases, you for the pagination you use this same notation, that you provide the next page URL and then you use the same function for parsing, because this function just parse the product URL, starts just send the request, and then after extracting, checking that if the next page is available, we are hitting on it, and then we can again use the same function for extracting products from that page. So over here we are just checking again for the next page and then yielding the request, and going to bottom we are yielding it. One thing we have to do, we have to remove this break statement, because right now we are just iterating on the first category. By removing this, it will actually start iterating on all the categories, and by this it will, for all the category, it will start iterating on all the product pages, all the different pages of that category, and this will work the same way. It will actually extract all the information of that product. And one thing again to notice here or to take in account, that most probably if we go for the home page, okay, so all the, if we go under clothing, so all the categories which we are seeing here, there is quite a probability that all the products are already available in this category and in this category. But we do not really have to worry about that. The, let's say if all, even if all the jackets are available in here and just a couple of one or two jackets are only available precisely in here, not in here, or let's say if we go for the jeans and all the jeans are available in all clothing and just a couple of jeans are not available, and same if all the polo t-shirts are available in bestsellers and just a couple of them are not, so we don't have to worry about any of this, because while sending the request, the Scrapy will detect that that particular product URL has already been scrapped, has already been crawled, so it will consider it as a duplicate. So let's say in polo shirts we are getting a shirt XYZ, the unique URL of that shirt is xyz123.com. So once the Scrapy crawled that product XYZ to xyz123.com, no matter how many times or from how many paths does that shirt or does that product comes in, whether it's in bestseller, in all clothing, or in any of that other categories, even in t-shirts, this Scrapy will not send request on the duplicate one again. If the URL is again xyz123.com, Scrapy will not send request on it. It will just consider that duplicate and filter that out. So now let me just run this spider, and actually when I will start running this spider, it will take a couple of minutes, most probably 10 to 15 minutes, because we are scrapping all the list, all the listings, all the pages and all the products, so it will take quite a time. So I just run this spider here in this video, and in the next video I will discuss the solution with you. So let's just do the exit from here. And to run that, let's just go for Scrapy, crawl, and then the name of the spider. Now let's just give it a quick look again, that this part is responsible for extracting all the listing categories URLs on the home page and then start sending requests on each category. After getting response for each category, this function is responsible for extracting the products available on that page and then checking for the next page, hitting on the request, and then sending request and providing the same function as the callback. This for loop is sending request for the products, and as soon as it gets the response, it will navigate to the parse product, and here we are extracting all information, the required information from the product page, and then we are yielding our product information. So I guess this is quite fine. Now what we have to do, we have to go for -o and then specify the output path. Let me just clean this from here. And now in this video actually we just tried looking for the next pages of the categories, and we just check that here, that if the next page is available, we started sending requests to that pages as well. And now I will just start this spider and I will discuss the output of this spider in the next video with you. So it is starting it. So 200, and we are getting the response. In the next video, I will discuss the output with you in detail. Hi and welcome back. So in the previous video, we almost completed writing our spider, and then We just started our spider for getting the products from the provided categories, from the categories which we extracted first, and then for all the products available on that categories, we started sending requests to that. And as soon as we were getting response back, we just parsed them in the product info, and we just extracted some product information in the callback, and then we yielded out the product. So here, if we go for the output now, and one thing more, it actually take quite a time for completion, and it totally depends on your internet speed as well. So here, if we scroll down to the bottom, so we are getting 5,481 products. The first row is actually the headers. So we are getting 5,481. So if we just inspect that and go for show in Explorer, or you can right click and go for show in Explorer. If we open this products.csv, so here we are getting the product name. Now we are getting the available colors for that product. Then we are getting the picture URLs. Then we are getting the care instructions. So you can do dry run and test all that stuff, that whether you are getting the accurate output or not. But the thing is that after getting this complete CSV, you can actually create your own website. I just gave you the basic idea of that. You can actually save the product URL as well, any kind of information you want for your website. You can use this data, you can use this CSV, and then create your own website. So what I'm trying to say is that after extracting all the information of the product, the available colors of the product, the available images of the product, and then the care instructions, you can also go for extracting available sizes of the product and the price available on that product. So you can get all that information, and then what you can do, you can directly pass that to your website front end. Let's say you are having a website which is reading data from a server. You can load that data to that server, and then that server will actually provide this data to your website. And then what you are doing, you are actually listing Hugo Boss products on your website, and then as soon as you get some order, you can directly refer back to the original product, place the order, and provide the shipping address to the client provided address. And this thing is happening nowadays, that people are actually listing products from other websites on their own, and then as soon as they get the order on their website, they just directly refer to the original website product and place their order there. So this is the one feature, this is the one thing which you can use for that. Also with this data, you can check that what are the most type of products that you are getting, what are the categories from which you are getting the most products, right? So in this video, so I actually skipped intentionally for getting the categories and all that stuff. I'm leaving this on you, that you try to get the categories out as well, and then pass it further, and then you can do the analysis as well, that which of the categories are having most of the products, and all sort of analysis. It totally depends on you. Once you get the data, then you can manipulate it in any way you want. So in this video, I gave you the overview of the data that we just extracted from the spider, and then I also explained some use cases to you, and actually these use cases are just tip of the iceberg. You can do a number of other things from this data. It totally depends on you, and you can just go on and on extracting more and more data from the product page, and you can go on and on for doing other things on that. In the next video, we will try to explore Scrapy in more details. Hi and welcome back. Now we are heading towards understanding the Selenium. So Selenium is not a data scraping tool. So we do not really generally use Selenium for the data scraping purpose, although we can use Selenium for the data scraping as well. But generally we prefer on Request and Beautiul Soup and Scrapy for scraping the data. Selenium is used for automation generally. So whenever you want to perform an automated thing, you want to automate a flow, you want a script that opens a browser and then do a number of sequences, number of steps, follow the number of flow and clicks a certain buttons, fill in several forms and all that stuff. You can control that using the Selenium. The only drawback of the Selenium is that Selenium is slow as compared to Scrapy. So in Scrapy, or even if we go for the request as well, it is sequential. For the request to work properly, the request will first send the data and then wait for the response, and then it will proceed. Although the Scrapy works in parallel, it just does not wait for the response to come, it just keeps on sending the request. But here in Selenium, the Selenium works on the same principle as of request. First it will send the request, then it will wait for the response, plus it will then render the web page. So Selenium, while working with Selenium, and when we will start doing the hands-on, you will notice that it will actually provide you with the browser on which you can then do further things, or you can make the Selenium script to do the further things. So the time taken by the response for to be rendered on the web page will also be included, and it will eventually further slows down the whole process. So in this video, I just gave you the overview of the Selenium, and then we discussed that what actually the Selenium is used for. In the next video, we will start working on it. Hi and welcome back. So in the previous video, I gave you an overview of Selenium. In this video, we will try installing Selenium on our local machine. So for the IDE, again, I am using the PyCharm, and you can go for any IDE of your choice. If you are using PyCharm, you can open the terminal from here, and then if you are not using PyCharm, you can open the terminal of your OS. So as I explained earlier, that if you want to install any package in your of your Python, you can just simply go for pip install and then the name of the package. So here it's Selenium. Hit enter. Now on my machine it is already installed, so it just states that requirement already satisfied on your machine. It will take a couple of minutes for the installing. So for Selenium to work properly, there are actually two requirements. The first one is that the Selenium is installed on your local machine, and the next one, you have the proper web driver of your relevant Chrome version. So as I explained earlier, that the Selenium over here, the Python script will actually communicate with the browser, and you can see all your script running live on the browser. So to make the Python script communicate with the browser, you need the web driver. So if we go for the Chrome, you just need to open your Chrome and then click on these three dots, go for help and about Google Chrome. So here you can see that this is your Chrome version. Now what you have to do, you have to copy this Chrome version and just open a new tab and go for Selenium web driver and specify your Chrome version. Hit enter. Click the first link. From here, it is stating that if you are using Chrome version 89, we can go for this one. 88, we can go for this one. And for 87, we can go for this one. So our version is 88. We can refer to this. If your version is different, you can certainly refer to that one. So from here, you can download the Windows 32. If you're no matter if your Windows is 64-bit or 32-bit, it will work for both ways. So you can download that, and based upon your OS, if you are working on Linux, you can download this. For Mac, you can download this one. So after downloading, you just need to extract that out and put that in the relevant folder. And we will actually do this in the next video, while we will start writing a new script, and then we will see that when we will run the script, it will eventually raise an exception, and then after providing the directory of this WebDriver, we will be get going perfectly. So see you in the next video. Hi and welcome back. So in the previous video, we installed Selenium on our local machine, and then based on our Google Chrome version, we looked for the WebDriver from the internet and downloaded that as well. In this video, we will sync them together. So if we go for the IDE, let's just create a script here and name it main.py or anything you want to name it. So from here, let's just start writing the script using the Selenium, and then we will try to run that script, and we will notice that we are getting some sort of error. So if we go for from Selenium, import WebDriver, and then let's just go for driver equals to WebDriver.chrome. So if you want to use Firefox, you can use Firefox as well, but then you have to download the Firefox drivers and use them. So over here, let's just keep it as it is and run the script. Python main.py, hit enter. So notice what we are getting. We are getting an error that Selenium common exceptions, WebDriver exception, message Chrome driver executable need to be in path. Please see this URL. So what is happening now is when we are using Selenium for opening a Chrome browser, it is trying to look for a WebDriver that will helps it for opening or communicating with the web browser, which it is not finding, which is not available here in the path right now. So what we can do, we can just take this from downloads, paste this in the folder where their main.py is available. We just created this file from the IDE, and let's just extract that. So now we have the Chrome driver over here. Let's just copy this name, and over here, we can specify the executable path that look for the WebDriver from this path. So we have to go for executable underscore path and specify the name of the actually path of the Chrome driver. So if this path is not present, if this WebDriver is not present here, it is present in some other location, you have to specify the complete path here. So just to avoid all that hassle, I pasted it in the same directory where my main.py is available, and over here I can directly refer to this by going the name of the driver. Now if I save this and give it a go, so notice our browser is being opened. So that's this script is now working perfectly fine. We haven't done anything with the browser or load any URL or any other stuff, but this is working perfectly fine. We are getting the browser. So in this video, we tried just writing a simple script, and then we set the executable path for the Chrome driver, and then after running the script, we get the browser open. In the next video, we will try to explore some more about the Selenium. Hi and welcome back. So in the previous video, we successfully configured our WebDriver with our Selenium script. In this video, we will try to explore Selenium in more details. So for the IDE, right now we are just getting a blank browser. We are not getting any web page, or we are not directing it to any URL. We are just getting a blank browser, and this driver variable is responsible for making a communication between this Selenium script and the open browser. So for opening a website, let's just take course.toScrap again. The reason why I am using this website again is just to make it easy for you to compare the working of different frameworks and modules for data scraping. So if I take this URL and if I go for driver, referring to the browser that just opened, and get and provide this URL. Now what it will do, after opening the browser, it will redirect us to this URL. So if we give it a go now, python main.py, hit enter. So notice it redirected us to course.toscrap.com, and we are getting this web page. So again, one thing to notice over here is that the Selenium is taking much more time as compared to Request, Beautiul, Soup and Scrapy, because Selenium is not only getting the response, but it is also waiting for the browser to render that response perfectly on the browser, on this browser. So that's why it is taking way too long as compared to the other tools. So if we close this, and down here, one thing more what we have to do quit for actually closing the browser that just opened. So here, if we now give it a go again, it will open that and it will close it again. So just referred to course.toscrap and then it closed that. Now what we will do, we will see that how we can further apply CSS selector on this open web page, and how we can try to extract some information from here again. Although, as I mentioned earlier, that the Selenium is not for data scraping, but still it's a good tool to learn for doing the data scraping and the automation. The sole purpose of Selenium is doing the automation, and we will see that in a while. But let's just make you comfortable working with Selenium and applying CSS selectors on Selenium. How you can apply CSS selector using Selenium. First, let you be comfortable with that, and then we will start moving for the automation step. So over here, if we now go for driver, so it is referring to this open web page on our browser. So if we go for driver.find element by CSS selector. Now over here you can also use find element by ID and find element by class name, but the reason why I am using CSS selector is just because right now we are comfortable working with CSS selector, and with CSS selector you can not only go for classes and IDs, but you can also go for nested parents and siblings and all that notation. So over here, now if I want to refer to something, let's say I want to extract this text. So what I can do, I can just inspect that and take out its CSS selector element. So I can uniquely identify this text from dot text. Right now, if I go for dot text over here, what it will do. So remember, while working with Scrapy, after providing the CSS selector, we have to go for get or get all. So over here, the phenomena is also the same. We have to specify the element or elements here. If we specify the element, it will provide us only the first occurrence of this tag. And if we provide elements, it will provide us with the list of all the occurrences of those tags. So now if we just go for element, and if we just print the, let's just go for printing the type of it. Now hit enter. So we are getting this type, which is selenium.webdriver web element. So anything you want to apply, if you want to extract some text, this is one thing you should remember over here, that if you want to extract some text, you want to do some clicking, you want to fill some form, you'd actually need a web element, right, on which you can apply something. So if I go for now, after getting this, if I go for text, and let me just remove this. Okay, let's just take this from here and paste this here and remove the type. And if we go for text, now if we give it a go, so over here we are getting this web element, the type, and then we are extracting the text out of it. So to extract text from any CSS, from any selected element, you can just go for .text and it will actually extract out the text of that element. Now what we actually have to do over here, that right now we are getting a single element. So we want to get a list of all the elements containing all these codes. So if we go for elements over here, let me just copy this from here and put some dashes for the separation. Now paste this here. Now if I just print the type and comment this out, now if I give it a go, so notice that the element from which we are actually extracting the text before the hyphens is the web element, right? And then we are successfully applying text on it and we are getting the text. But over here, our element type is list because it contains list of these elements. So if we just simply go for .text, it will raise an exception that the list element does not has the text notation or something like that. Now if we give it a go, so notice we get this error that attribute list object has no attribute text. So now to come up with the solution, let me just show you something, that this type is actually the type of this elements notation is of list. If we just iterate on this element, iterate on the each element of the list and print its type, you will notice that the type of each element is web element and we can apply text on that. So if we go for let's say tag in this, and over here let's just print the type of the tag. Now if we hit enter, so notice over here when we are getting the type to be web element, we can apply text on it, and the type is web element and we are applying text on it and we can get the text out of it. So over here, after getting the list, when we iterate over the element of the list, notice that we are getting the same web element. So we can also go for .text over here as well and it will provide us with the text. Now if we give it a go, so notice we are now getting the text because we on iterating we are getting the web element for each iteration, and then on each web element we are applying further text notation for extracting out the text. So in this video we saw that how we can open a particular URL in the Selenium browser, and then we tried applying CSS selectors on the elements and extracting some information and then extracting out the single quote. And then we saw that how we can extract a list of all the codes, list of all the tags that contains the codes, and then how we can iterate on it for each web element, and then how we can get text out from each web element. So In the next video, we will try to explore this in more details. Hi and welcome back. In the previous video, we successfully wrote a CSS selector for extracting the codes of the codes.to scrap. In this video, we will head toward extracting the author name and the quotation. So if we go for the browser, for extracting the quotation and the author, we will again be using the same technique that we use for extracting the quotes and author in Scrapy. So first of all, we will write a CSS selector that will provide us with all the divs. That will provide us list of this div, this div, this div, this div, and then we will iterate on each of the div and further apply CSS selector for extracting the quotation and the author. So now let's just write a CSS selector for extracting the quotes. So if we go for Control F and go for quotes, so it is this CSS selector will provide us the list of all these quotes. So let's just take this and come in the IDE. So here again, the first thing we have to do, we just have to go for the URL over here, driver.get, and it will open that URL for us in the browser. And then we can go for driver.find elements by CSS selector. So the reason why we are using of element over here instead of element is because we are expecting a list of all these divs. So if we just go for element, it will only provide us with the first one. But right now we want to get a list of all these elements so that we can further apply CSS selector on it. So here we go for .code, and now if we just iterate over it by saying, let's say for div in this, let's just print the type of div. So if we give it a go, it redirected us to codes.scrap.com, and over here it is providing us with the web elements. Perfect. So on this web elements, what we can do, we can further apply a find.element by CSS or we can just directly extract out the text. If we go for .text, it will simply provide us all the text available in this div, because for the first iteration, this div is representing this thing. So it will provide us with all the text available in it straight away, but we do not want to do that. What we want to just get this author name, and we want to get the quotation, and we want to get the author name. So over here, what we can do is we can go for div. On that div, this means that right now for the first iteration, I am applying CSS selection on this. For the next iteration, I will be applying CSS selection on this and then this. So let's say for the first one, if we go for div.find element by CSS selector. So the reason why we are using element here, not elements, is because I will only go for the CSS selector that provide me this codes, which is .text, I guess. Yeah, that will only provide me this code. So I have already narrowed down my searching criteria to this div. So when I go for this find element by CSS selector, it will only provide me code of this div. So after coming for the selector, let's just apply the CSS selector over here, .text, and then from this we want to get the text. Now if we give it a go, again it redirected us to course.toscrap.com, and from here we are getting the quotations. Perfect. Now what we have to do, instead of just printing the quotation, we have to further write a CSS selector that will provide us with the author name. And now we know inside this div, the author tag is responsible for providing with the author name. So we can use this over here, dot author, and this dot text will provide us the actual text inside the tag. So now let's just print the dashes for distinguishing them and hit enter. And again I am using element because we just want because we will be getting single author, as we have narrowed down our search criteria to this div. So now if we give it a go again, the web page is loaded, and here we will be getting now the quotation, the author name, and then the dashes. Yeah, that's perfect. So in this video we saw that how we can actually extract quotation and the author name both, and we did this by following the same method that we used working in Scrapy. That first we extracted all the divs, all these divs, and then we iterate on each of the div. For the first iteration we are getting this div, and then we are applying CSS selector on this div, and then extracting the quotation and the author name. And then for the next iteration, when we are getting this div, we are further again applying text CSS selector and author CSS selector, and it will provide us quotation and author of this one. Then for the next iteration it will provide us with this div, then again so and so forth. In the next video we will try to explore Selenium in more detail. Hi and welcome back. Now let's just have a quick quiz. Now I want you to write a script that will extract the tags also beside the author name and code. So if we go for the browser here, you can see that we are getting the quote, we are getting the author name, and then there are the tags. Now I want you to write a script that will not only extract the quotation and the author name, but also the tags associated with the code. So try solving this and try coming up with a solution. In the next video, I will discuss the solution with you. Hi and welcome back. Now let's just discuss the solution of the quiz. So the problem statement was, I asked you to come up with a script that will not only extract the quotation and the author name, but also the tags associated with the quotation. So the solution for that is again quite trivial. We will use the same methodology. The first thing, we will write a CSS selector that will provide us with all the divs that contains the code. This div, this, and then we will use a for loop to iterate on it, and for each iteration after getting our div, we will apply further CSS selector for extracting the quotation, the author, and then the tags. So if we just inspect that, Control F, and now if we go for code, hopefully we are getting the divs that contains our codes. So we can write a CSS selector in the IDE by going driver dot find element by CSS selector. So again, we are not using element here. We will be using elements because if we use element, we will be getting the first div, and if we use elements, we will be getting list of all the divs. So the CSS selector would be dot quote, and now we can just simply iterate over it. So we can go for div in this particular list of all the quotes, list of all the quotes tag. Then what we can do, we can just simply further apply CSS selector on this div by going print div dot find element by CSS selector. And the reason again why I am not using elements over here is because that we narrowed down our search criteria to that particular div for the first iteration. So over here, so the element which we are applying will only be applicable inside this div, and it will provide us with only the results inside this particular div. So for the next iteration, same will be applicable for this, and so on and so forth. So over here, what we have to do now, we have to go for dot text, because dot text, I guess, if we go for here and go for dot text, so notice it is provide dot text is the CSS selector for getting the quotations. So we can go for dot text, and then dot text will extract out the text available inside this tag. Then if we go for print, let's just print this first and then see that whether we are getting the correct answer or not, and then we will try to extract the author name and then the tags. Now if we give it a go, Python, name of the file, so perfect, we are getting the quotations. Now next thing, we have to further write a CSS selector for extracting the author name, and for extracting the author name, the CSS selector is, I guess, quote, yeah, sorry, the author, yeah. If we go for dot author, we will be getting the author name. So let's just copy this from here and paste this here, and now if we give it a go, hopefully beside the text we will be getting the author. And again, I am not using elements over here, we are just using element because we narrowed down our search criteria to the relevant to the iterative div only. So here we are getting the quotation and we are getting the author name. Perfect. Now the next thing is we want to extract the tags. So for that, over here we know that this is the class tag. If we just go for this, we will be getting the tag. Now we can use this thing for extracting the tags. So we can go for div dot find element by CSS selector and dot tag. Now one thing to notice over here is that this tag is not a single element. We do not only want to get the first tag, we want to get the complete tags associated with the codes. So for that we have to use the elements. And what this will do, it will provide us a list of web elements. So further, to extract the codes out, we have to iterate on it by for tag in this. And from here we can go for printing tag.text. Now if we give it a go, hopefully, and before, let's just put some dashes for distinguishing. Now if we give it a go, it will actually take a couple of seconds for running it properly, because it is communicating with the browser, and if the browser is doing some other process in the backend, it will actually slows down the communication between the script and the browser. So this may happen. So over here, now the page is being loaded, and hopefully we are now getting the quotation, and then we are getting the author name. And then after extracting all the tags available inside this div, we are further iterating on it, because we are extracting this using elements, and then we are just going for tag.text for extracting out the quotations. So this was the solution of the quiz, and if you are stuck at any point or you are not getting anything, let us know in the question answer section, and we will try to get back to you as soon as possible.